Welcome to Disabled Expectations. When you're a dad raising a child with a disability, nothing is as you planned. These are the raw, honest stories of dads whose lives changed the day they heard a diagnosis and who continue to show up, adapt, and fight for their families every day. This isn't about lowering expectations, it's about redefining them. I'm Andy, and this is Disabled Expectations. Well, thanks for joining us. We've got a great one today. I have my friend Ben with me, and I promise you, you're going to love this. Ben happens to be one of the best builders that I've ever met in person, and I have some questions for you. But Ben, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to this conversation. And
Me too.
not quite the best builder, but
When did you know that you were like, I am good at building things?
well, I'm an engineer, so I've always built stuff, and just went through engineering school, and then actually got a house, and then the guy from church was like, "Hey, you should build your own cabinets," because it was a foreclosed home, everything was gutted, and I was single then, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can build my own cabinets. So he kind of told me what to do, set up the table saw in the middle of the living room and chopped them out right there. And
so you immediately, you're like, you thought, yeah, I could probably do that.
Yeah, you just break it down, ABC, watch some YouTube videos. Once you get a little confidence, get some knowledge, then you get going, and then you're like, okay, I can do this. And
yeah, so people listening have no idea, but you are crazy skilled. Like Ben just built a new totally accessible house, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And he did so much of the final like the cabinets, the frame, the what is it called, the baseboard trim, a lot of trim. Like I'm a professional how I talk.
All the finished carpentry, yeah.
Oh,
and the cabinets.
That is no joke.
Yeah.
Man. Anyways, so he's not looking for work, but I'm sure if if it's the right price, you'll do it.
Yeah. More time, and that's getting short. So yeah.
Oh man. Well, Ben's got 4 kids, right?
4, correct.
4. And excited to hear your story. Why don't you give us just a little bit of how you and your wife met, and then we'll get into what brings you on Disabled Expectations.
Yeah, so Amber and I both went to Cedarville, but never at the same time. So I graduated. Okay. I graduated in 06, and she started going, and so we never knew each other from there. And then after she graduated, she stuck around Cedarville, didn't really want to go back home for various reasons, and then moved in with her mentor. Her mentor I knew her mentor, and also she knew my brother-in-law or my brother and sister-in-law. So they got conniving after they met, and they're like, oh, they have to meet. And so, let's see, it was December 31st, 2011. Yeah. New Year's Day we met, or New Year's Eve we met, and then married within December 28th that year. So
all right, kids, if you're listening, close your ears. Ben, did you kiss her on New Year's Eve?
No. I mean, that was the first time we met, so that would have been awkward.
Well, I mean, it was a good opportunity.
Yeah. No, we didn't kiss till we got engaged. So.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that was October. Both from previous relationships were like, no, we just kind of want to keep that in the bag until the time is right. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I'm seriously impressed.
So yeah, engaged in October, and then married 2 months later. Because my brother was going overseas, and we're like, oh, might as well, if we're both older, just might as well get married. So yeah.
It sounds so dreamy when you say it like that.
Yeah, had a fall wedding in the end of December. Yeah.
Okay, man, I love it.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, and so you guys have been, as long as you've been married, have you been in the area where you live now?
Yeah. So I bought that foreclosed home in '09, and then
Okay.
we were married in 12. So she moved into the house. Before that, she actually lived with my brother and sister, and then also my parents,
Gotcha.
because she moved up to Grand Rapids. So she lived in my parents' basement, and then got married, moved into the house. So we've been in that house, which was 2 floors in the basement, typical, Michigan home. So,
Yeah.
and we've been in there since we moved in to this place in October. So,
Wow. Okay. I like
yeah,
it. So tell me a little bit about the kids. What's the age range? What are they into right now? How are they driving you
yeah.
crazy?
So, yeah, part of Jory's story is just, I guess you start with Hazel. So she's our oldest. She's gonna be turning 11.
Okay.
Yeah, we got pregnant with her. I don't know, 6 months into marriage, we're like, we're older. We're like, might as well start having kids. At Hazel, Amber grew a ovarian cyst
Oh,
during pregnancy, and so it got large enough to the fact and causing lots of pain. So they removed it um, while she was pregnant. So
oh
that was
wow.
kind of nerve wracking. We're like, oh, having surgery while you're pregnant, kind
Yeah.
of interesting thing. And so everything was good with that. And then we had Hazel. Hazel's a little rambunctious and
Yeah.
he's just very creative and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
so we had Hazel, and then we lost a child after that,
Oh,
probably
okay.
a year or two later. Um, so anyone who has a miscarriage, it's
Yeah,
it's very hard on our spouses, and
for
you
sure.
you just don't even know what to say sometimes. But
Yep.
you're just there for them. You mourn also, but it's something unique that the wives have to go through.
Yeah.
So it was that, and then after that, we got pregnant with the boys, boys plural. So we had twins.
Twins. Yeah. You're trying to say twins.
Yeah. Actually, we had someone take an ultrasound, and they thought it was a boy and a girl.
Okay.
She was practicing ultrasound tech, and she wrote names down. We did a little cake thing, and we opened them up, and we're like, "Oh, boy, girl," and then, you know, 2 weeks
Whoops.
later, we're like, "Oh no, it's 2 boys." So we got slightly more used to the medical world with going in for routine ultrasounds. I got good at reading ultrasounds and all
Yeah.
that. Um, yeah, a C-section with the boys, deliver them. So that's another surgery that Amber had. Um,
Man.
but yeah, and so then we had the boys. They're 8 years old. They're identical twins, but I mean, definitely unique personalities.
Yeah.
One's a little more rules oriented, and he's a bookworm, and well, actually they're both bookworms, but he's like right to the textbook, and the other one's he's fairly creative, and he
Oh,
likes
yeah, for
he likes
sure.
to sing and music and stuff like that. But yeah, um, and then and then we get pregnant again, and this one's with Jory.
Okay.
So yeah, this was back in 2018. We got pregnant, um,
Yeah.
and we're thinking it's fairly routine. We're going into that 20-week ultrasound, and you guys, a lot of people know,
Yep.
it's all about that 20-week ultrasound, and yeah, I mean, we just had someone in our Sunday school at church just shared their 20-week ultrasound, and they're like, "Oh, it's a healthy baby," and you're like, and every time I hear that, it's just like I'm happy for them, but it's like it just strikes a different fear and just brings back memories
For sure.
from those. When you get that diagnosis, that's not what you anticipated going in. You anticipate
Man.
just going in, trying to find the gender, and that's about it. And you're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
all. No, the ultrasound's just taking sweet old time, looking at the back, looking at the head, not really saying much. And I've been through like don't know, 10, 12 ultrasounds at this point. So I'm like,
Right.
what's going on and stuff like that. And then get into the room with the OB, and then she goes, your child has spina bifida.
Yeah. It's huge. Man. So up until that point, did you know that there would be anything going on with Jory?
No, nothing. It was actually fairly easy pregnancy up to that point. And
Okay.
so my mind immediately went, in college, I had a roommate who had spina bifida. So
wow.
I was totally, I knew about this world. He went to college. He got around. I was roommates with him, but I didn't really have to help him with much. I, here and there help him with this, that, or the other. So I was already familiar with it, and so my mind went to him, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be okay. I'm like,
did you ever think like, holy crap, I think God prepared me for this?
Yeah, there's a lot of that for Amber too. So she had two close friends at her church. They had, I think it's called Frederick's ataxia.
Okay.
I'm not sure the name of that. They're both wheelchair bound. It's more like a muscular type of disease. But
yeah,
Amber, she's a social worker, so she feels compassion for pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm. So, she's amazing.
Yes, and I mean, definitely married up. So
hey, I'm in the club too.
yeah. So she helped them with their wheelchairs. She like went to their house because she felt bad, like because they don't get around as much. So
yeah.
So yeah, the world of wheelchairs, we definitely were familiar with it before this.
Yeah, that is that's actually kind of incredible that you guys were set up like you were.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Can you describe, because there's a lot of people that might be listening that have no idea what spina bifida is exactly. They've heard that name, but they don't know, what does that mean? What is that? What are the expectations for Jory? I mean, what were you told? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it means split spine, but basically, I think it's around 6 weeks or so when your spinal cord zips up. It just zips around, and then your bone locks around your spinal column, and so your spinal column is free floating in there. For kids with spina bifida, it just never goes all the way, so it's split, and it can be anywhere along your spinal column. Some are high, some are low.
Okay.
It varies a lot. It's called a snowflake condition. So, John Mellencamp has spina bifida.
Really?
He had surgery when he was a baby, and I don't know the degree of his, but yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So there's some people that just have like a very tuft of hair on their back, and they it's called spina bifida occulta. And some people, it doesn't affect them at all. Some have, like Jory, his was open, and so his spinal column was open to the amniotic fluid. Some have a sac around it.
Okay.
Some have where the nerve endings go out into the sac. So there's all sorts of.
So there's a wide range of severity with this condition, right?
Correct. Yep.
And where would Jory fall on that?
Yeah. So his spinal column was in. He wasn't wrapped up all the way, so he kind of had a hole. He had a hole in his back. So we'll get to that in a second. But yeah. He was born like that. You'd have the hole there, and then you'd have surgery. I think within a day. They usually like to do that. Usually, if it's sac on there, I think they might wait a little bit. But,
jeez.
But yeah, so
your 20-week ultrasound, they are looking a little suspicious. You're noticing some things. They tell you this guy's spina bifida. What happens after that? So you guys get in the car, and I mean, do you just go in for the delivery, or is there anything along the way that happened?
A little bit. Yeah. So so they send us to the MFM, maternal
I
fetal
don't know
medicine.
what that meant. What's that?
Maternal fetal medicine. They're like one step up from the OB.
Okay.
They do a little more specialty stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a surgery out there that can happen. So we go in there and they do the I'm blanking on the name, where they take the amniotic fluid out of the belly, and which can cause a miscarriage. So we ask them, do we need to do this? You do it to confirm the diagnosis, but part of doing it also is that you can have fetal surgery in the womb. So they took the spinal fluid out because they want to test for abnormalities. If there's other things beyond just the spina bifida, doing
Okay.
fetal surgery or surgery in the womb can be a little bit more dicey. Like if there's some chromosomal deformity, then they don't want to risk
Oh.
much. So from there we get referred to fetal surgeons.
You're making all the friends.
Yes. Yeah.
So fetal surgeons, like tell me what that is in like the most elementary way.
Surgery on babies in the womb.
Like that is crazy, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Did you know that was even a thing before this?
I had heard of it.
It's insane.
Yeah. But yeah. So you never think it's going to happen to you, but
right.
Yeah, U of M, where you guys go, they do it.
Yep.
So
okay.
Some friends of ours, which we found out about them, they're having the surgery about at the same time for their son at U of M.
Whatever.
So theirs is an open procedure, so they cut the wife hip to hip, and then there they also cut the uterus. For ours, there's a fetoscopic version, so they do two probes. They still cut Amber hip to hip, but then they put two probes in. They sew up Jory's back. They take the amniotic fluid out, fill it with a gas, and then they do the surgery through the probes, put the fluid back in, sew her up, try and keep you pregnant as long as possible.
All right. So, whoa, that was a lot.
Yeah.
So you said you're at Mott's, but you guys are still in Grand Rapids, right?
No, we didn't go to Mott's.
Oh.
So Texas Children's in Houston, they do the fetoscopic version. U of M does the open procedure.
Okay.
And so with the fetoscopic, also you can give birth naturally rather than by a cesarean. If you do open, you have to do cesarean.
Gotcha.
So Texas Children is one of the best in leading in the procedure. So we referred down there. We went down.
So you're in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
And you just like go to Texas.
We drive down there.
Just the three of you?
Just the two of us. Yeah.
Right. And then
left the three at home. The other three at home.
Three at home. Who's watching them?
With my parents and I think some friends, family and friends also helped out with that. So we drove down there, and then you have like about a week and a half of procedures. They do an MRI. They do all sorts of tests on Amber. They make sure her heart is good, and they look at Jory's, his heart is good. And they also want to make sure that the benefit is there. So sometimes the lesion is low, that to do the risk of the surgery and being born premature, then you don't want to complicate things if it's not going to affect them as much. If it's too low, if it's too high and severe, sometimes it doesn't help. So, but they said ours was a perfect shot. So like, since his was open, if you close his back, it prevents the amniotic fluid from, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's like an acid, but it can damage the nerves if it's open to the amniotic fluid. So,
okay. This is serious.
Lots of medical things here.
So when they're doing the surgery, how long does that take to get his back where it needs to be?
As far as like how long is the surgery? So
Yeah, like how long are you in the waiting room for
Yeah.
while they're
Yeah.
operating?
So they do it at 26 weeks ideally. So if you need to give birth, you can still be viable and survive in like a NICU. So
Wow.
they wait a certain time, but they want to do it soon enough that it's the benefits of not damaging the spinal column. So around 26 weeks, I think it was like a 5, 6 hour surgery.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's it. And I'm alone down in Texas. Just
Right.
no one else is down there. So it's just me and Amber. And
What?
yeah. And then she does the surgery at 26 weeks. And then shortly after this, we're planning on having the kids come down. My parents
Oh,
came,
really?
Amber's mom, Amber's parents, a couple friends of ours came down to help out. Because after they sew you up, back up, Amber can't do much work at all. So,
And then was the plan to have Jory in Texas?
so they're changing the rules depending on where you go, but Texas Children's is more strict because they want good results. They want you to stay close to the hospital so you can do that there, so that they can monitor you. And
Right.
um, our friends who had at U of M, they came back to Grand Rapids,
Oh,
and
okay.
they had their birth in Grand Rapids at Helen DeVos.
Wow.
So, um,
So
yeah.
after the surgery, when was Jory born?
So
I have so many questions. This
yeah.
is
So at 26 weeks, we had the surgery. At 28 weeks, 29 weeks, they noticed something called chorioamniotic separation. So the lining of the uterus starts separating. There's layers there.
okay.
So if they become separated, and it was a local one, which eventually went global, so everything was all kind of free floating. And what that can do is it can choke out the umbilical cord and cut circulation to the baby. So
Wow.
that's why they want to keep a close eye on you. We met two other people who had the surgery down there. They made it to 40 weeks,
Oh, okay.
but not us. So Amber at 29 weeks, yeah, because of the chorioamnionic separation, gets hospitalized at 29 weeks. Goes in the hospital. So we rented a house, and by this time I'm on full time FMLA and not working, and then starting to not have paychecks. So worrying about that, and
Of
then
course. Yeah. Why? That's not a big deal.
yeah. So, we don't like asking for money or anything, so we didn't do a GoFundMe or anything. But
Yeah.
there was people who were generous, and just people heard about it and chipped in some money here and there because yeah, I'm paying like
Man.
$3,000 a month rent down there for this house.
Jeez.
Houston's expensive, and I'm going back and forth from the hospital to the house, hospital to the house, and all this time either at least some of our friends or one of our moms are there helping watching the kids.
Okay. So the kids are there now. Like
Yes.
when you're okay. So you
Yeah.
got the whole crew.
Yep. Yeah. And we're just going back and forth. It was a very hard time for Amber. I went back. We blogged through it. Amber blogged a lot more than I did, but
Okay. Wow.
it was a hard time for Amber. So
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
yeah, just being alone sometimes. I Towards the end for the last 3, 4 weeks, I slept in the hospital with her, and I usually brought one of the kids with me, so one of them would stay with us in the hospital,
Okay.
and then the other ones would go back. But yeah, so that went on for 7 weeks. Um, at 34, her water broke, and then they still kept her pregnant till like 36 plus 5, I think.
Okay.
And then you're doing the steroid shots. Yeah, that was also loads of fun for them.
Oh my gosh. So natural birth?
Yeah, so natural birth. Um, there was 20 people in the room while we were giving birth, all the fetal surgery team, and then the lead.
That's what you dream of, right? You're like, oh, I would love to have a baby with 20 people.
Yeah, the head guy comes in. He goes, "If we don't get it on the next push, we're gonna have to do emergency C-section." So Amber just pushed, and Jory came right on out, and yeah.
Did they let you in the room?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was there.
Okay.
I cut the umbilical cord afterwards, and
Oh, okay.
yeah. One other thing about fetal surgeons, when we got down there, we hadn't quite thought of a name yet, and they asked right away when we got there, what is his name?
Oh.
So, and just from other stories with spina bifida, you just particular OBs or MFMs, they tell you just you need to abort it. Like 60%
Man,
of them are aborted. Um,
I hate
so
that.
yeah, I know. So when you get to the fetal surgery stage, and these doctors ask for their name, so that really meant a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that is like that's an emotional thing that you're not expecting, and
Yeah,
it's got to hit you.
yeah,
You know, cuz with us they were like, she's a little bit past the time to abort her, but
mm,
there's things we can do to make it happen. So you've got some that are like speaking death, and your surgeon speaking life with like what's
yeah,
his name? We want to know. Like that is amazing. I love that.
yep, yeah. So we picked the name Jory, which means God will uplift. God,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So we don't know if he's going to walk, but God will.
Yeah, for sure.
He knows, and if he doesn't, he'll uplift him. And yeah,
Yep. That's incredible. It means God will lift. Is that what it
God,
means?
God will uplift. Sorry.
God will uplift.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. And I don't know any other Jorys in the world. Like that's such a unique name. I like it.
Yeah, there's a youth pastor in Grand Rapids, and then there's also a woodworker out in California. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You've done your research.
Yep. I followed him, and I was like, yeah, I like the name. So, yeah.
Crazy. I like it. It's perfect though. I mean, Laura's really big on the meaning of names. Like that's a special thing for her. And I like it, but she was like really into it. And it's cool now that like you have these kids, like you have 4 kids, I have 4 kids, and they all have
Mm.
special meanings, but it's wild. It seems like they like the meaning of their name becomes like so much a part of them and their story.
So, what does
It's
Briella mean then?
Hers is oh crap. I knew you were gonna ask me.
Right.
I asked the questions. I
L means God, right? So something like,
God is my strength.
yeah, there you go.
And so that was very, very, very meaningful for us through our journey is
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
her, and still is.
Yeah.
But okay, so he's born, and
I was like, I backed
the,
up one.
what's that?
So that 7 weeks were there.
Yeah.
I thought of this as I was reading through the journal. So they have the 11th floor down at Texas Children's, and it's full of mothers who are on bed rest, basically. And
Okay.
the people we've met there were just incredible. Just women who she's basically bleeding all the time because the placenta, I think, was I can't remember, but
Wow.
even the doctors told her to abort because they're like, you're gonna die possibly because of this. And she goes, I have to fight for my child. She's like, I
Wow.
can't go and talk to their siblings and be like, I didn't fight for your brother or sister. Um, so they gave
Man.
birth to like, I think they gave birth to like 24 weeks and long NICU stay. And then there's a twin to twin transfusion where one twin's taken from the other. And then there was one that had like a teratoma, a tumor in the mouth.
Wow.
Both of the twins had it. So what they do is an exit strategy where they partially birth, take out the tumor, and then fully birth them. And yeah, we're talking this lady. She had these twins through a rape, but
Oh,
she's fighting for these kids. And then in the
jeez.
NICU, she lost one of them, and like just all these heartbreaking stories. And sometimes you don't even see a lot of that happens.
Right.
A lot of the Ronald McDonald houses and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um,
Man,
but
there's so much hurt in those rooms.
yeah,
Wow. How did you I want to get back to your story, but how did you handle the hope, like the faith aspect of it, like because you're hearing bad news, but I know you're a man of faith, and I know that you have strong faith, but like in those moments, like we're all human. And so what was it for you that kept you hopeful? And I mean, you guys, that is like, I didn't know all of that you said up until this point. And it is like you were in it. I mean, up to your forehead.
Yeah. And Amber's 10 times more than I, but yeah. A strong. We have a strong church, and they were very helpful. They flew down people to come and visit.
Wow.
And stuff, and then a couple of them drove down after everything was all said and done. One of my friends flew down and drove the car because we had 2 cars down there, so he drove one back, and just a strong church. They definitely helped us through it. It was a little bit lonely at times because you're only watching things on live stream at that point, and,
right?
And that can be lonely, for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I thought about going to Joel Osteen's church, but I decided not to. But
no, you passed.
No, I passed on that. But part of it was that, and I'm just an engineer also, so I go in the problem solving mode. So
okay,
everything the doctors come back, I'm researching, I'm doing this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, if he does get hydrocephalus, there's this. Okay, if you can cath, you can do this if you lose bladder function. So I'm doing a lot of the research as stuff comes in. Amber kind of just absorbs it, and she's going through this, learning just how to grieve. That was a lot of her blog. It's just
right.
It's not something that's natural to have to go through this. So so for me too, also just learning how to grieve, and it's
was that hard? Was that hard for you? Was it like something you had to work on, or was it easy?
Yeah, you go through waves.
Okay.
When you have setbacks. Later on, after we were back, Jory was back in the hospital and had surgery, and just I go to church, and I'm hearing about how we're supposed to be all happy. I don't know what the song was, but it bothered me. I'm like, Jory's so grumpy in the hospital, and he can't smile at all. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to have a joyful spirit right now. But so you go through a lot of emotions, and you fight through things. But my faith has always been strong. I just, whenever I'm get down, I look back to scripture. Just look at passages, and in particular, just passages about Jesus healing the blind or the lame, like John chapter 3, or David and Mephibosheth, or Acts chapter 3 with the lame man. By the
drop Mephibosheth, that's my man right there.
Mephibosheth, yep.
No, not an average person can say that.
Yeah.
I love it though. That's good. I just heard a sermon on hope, and it was like, we are really bad at like remembering how good God is and how faithful he is and what he's done in the past. And we have to go back sometimes. Laura was really big on like talking about all the different things with our family, all the miracles we've seen, all the ways God has answered our prayers with Briella. And then, we try and get it on paper because we don't want them to forget. We want them to be reminded, like, God has been so good through all of this really, really hard stuff. He's been good. He's been faithful. We can count on him. And that's why we have a certain hope, because it's in God. It's not in a doctor. It's not in the hospital. It's not in the surgery. It's not in Michigan. Wolverines basketball.
You guys didn't name it certain hope for nothing. So
that's right. Seems like there was a point to that.
Yes. Yeah. So the Jory Tales blog, we put stuff in there, and I was just reading through it again, and
cool. So that's online?
Yeah, on Facebook, the Jory Tales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was there. I'll have to check it out.
There's a lot of good. Amber's a very good writer. So
Awesome.
yeah.
I like that. All right. So you're okay. Woo. This is a professional podcast. We stick to this. we
All right. Sorry.
we don't jump around. We're very focused.
So we got to the point. All right.
Oh man. So you're in Houston still.
Yep.
And how long were you there after Jory was born?
So he was in the NICU a month total. Three of those weeks were in Texas. And
it's a long time.
And the A's and the B's, the Accia cardia and the bradycardias. He had the bradycardias where his heartbeat slowed down. Every time that happens, you have to stay, I think it was like 5 to 7 days longer.
Oh, okay.
So every time Jory had one.
Yeah.
Like,
as soon as you talk about discharge, he's like,
we're stuck in Houston longer. Yeah.
Oh man.
So yeah, we sent the kids back to my parents, packed up the house, went back to the Ronald McDonald, because Ronald McDonald you can only have like 2 or 3 people.
Yep.
And then I was like, maybe we should ask for a transfer. And I'm like, the insurance isn't going to cover that. I'm like, there's nothing life saving that needs to go back to Grand Rapids, but the insurance covered it.
Was that your idea or Amber's?
I think it was NICU natal, the main doctor.
Wow.
So you can ask for a transfer. So we asked for a transfer, got it. Amber and Jory flew back on a private jet.
What?
Got in and then they went to straight to Helen DeVos, and you get your own room then because you came from a different hospital and you can't the cross contamination thing there.
You're like a baller. She's sipping champagne in the air. You're driving.
Yeah. And then I'm stuck down in Houston and I have to drive the way back. And Hazel was still with us, so Hazel drove back with me.
Wow. Do the kids remember that at all?
They remember some things, and I think sometimes they remember pictures. But yeah, it was it was 5, 6
triggers
years.
Their memory.
Yeah, so they were. I think the boys turned 3 when they were down there, and Hazel was 5.
Oh, okay.
So there's some stuff. They don't remember the cockroaches and all that, but we put the boys on the floor, and then we're like, oh, there's cockroaches here. So then we had to get pots to prop them up.
Jeez. Is that like a normal thing in Houston, or is it like a Texas thing?
And then we're like, this is why you should have winters, so you can get cockroaches.
This is why you should have winters.
But they hate winter. So, whatever.
Come to Michigan.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny.
Where we don't have those kind of cockroaches.
Yeah. Ugh.
Like,
man.
That.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah. No.
All right. So they take a private jet, get to DeVos, got their own room. How long is he there for then?
It was like 10 days. So altogether he was like 31, 32 days or something like that. It was a lot more easier in Helen DeVos for sure, because you're home and stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay. You don't have to park way away. Like Helen DeVos was good about being able to park going across the bridge and everything, but yeah,
it's like a whole nother world. I mean, what you guys were going through, like you just stepped out of your normal context into a different world. It's like this make-believe world where nothing is what it should be. You fly home on a private jet.
Amber did, yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah,
you're not bitter at all.
Yeah, and then I have to start working again. Trying because I have to get the paychecks going and stuff. So, but yeah.
Wow. Okay, there was actually a lot to that story that I was unaware of. And I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, of course, there definitely is. But yeah,
So talk to me about what does life with a son who has spina bifida look like for you? Like what's a typical day? What are some of the things you have to deal with and handle because how old is Jory now?
He's 5, gonna be turning 6 coming up.
Okay. All right. So you're experts now.
Yeah. So we're kind of getting a fairly good routine, but I think it was 2 years in. 2 or 3 years in, we had to start cathing him.
Okay.
So yeah, we do the cath, and then I know you're talking about the enemies
Yeah.
or anemies, I think is what it's.
Right.
But yeah, we're sticking up his butt for enemas and stuff. But yeah, he's got bowel and bladder management,
Yep.
so you got to cath him every like 4 to 5 hours, 4 times a day.
Okay.
And then
Was that
bowel
pretty intimidating for you?
at first, and then after you do it a couple days, you're like, yeah, this is easy. You just got to
Wow.
get past get into the bladder, and
Yeah.
you push past it. But
How was Amber at that medical stuff?
yeah, she's a pro now.
Probably an expert. Yep.
She definitely doesn't like needles, and she doesn't like hospitals and everything like that. But yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We definitely don't have as much medical stuff as you guys for sure, but
Oh no, you guys are there's a lot there. It's
but yeah, we got the wheelchair, the walker. He gets around the house. We're in the handicap accessible now house that we built, so everything. No,
he's like a fast crawler too, if he needs to be.
extremely fast. So yeah, you gotta. He wears through the knee pads of the pants very quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, he loves the house. We got home today, and he wanted to play outside, and it's kind of
That's right.
hard. It's kind of hard because like he does have a little bit of mental delay. So there's something mentally that's delayed.
Okay.
Well, like when he goes out on the pavement, he doesn't quite know. Oh, don't crawl on the pavement because you might cut your knee.
Right.
So it's kind of hard. He's like, yeah, I want you to go out there, but I don't want you to just cut your knees because you can't quite feel that at all. So,
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. There's not a lot of feeling.
yeah, he hasn't quite told us, but yeah, I sometimes he has feeling. I'm not exactly sure where in the leg he has feeling and not, but
Okay.
yeah,
That'll come when he's older.
yeah. When he talks a lot, but yeah, he doesn't quite tell us details we want to know. How does this feel?
Yeah. In terms of like communicating, he's really good communicator, right?
Yeah, I mean that was delayed to like 4. So like, yeah, I mean everything was like 2 years behind the other kids, so it's a little frustrating.
Okay.
Like you always compare them to the other kids, and you're like, okay, they're not making this benchmark or this making
Yeah.
this benchmark, and it can be frustrating at times. But God knows what he's doing.
For sure.
Even if he doesn't reach the benchmarks, it's going to be okay. We're gonna have to deal
I think
with it.
so. Yeah. Wow. So what's it like for you with the balancing act of having 3 we'll say typical kids
Mm-hmm.
and then one that's got a significant disability? What's that? How do you balance that? How do you know, because they've got to, on some level, like Jory demands some attention,
Yep.
I mean your kids are awesome. They're just the best kids, but like how is that a struggle for you, or do you have a good system for that?
I would say Hazel's the hardest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because she's my only daughter, or maybe the oldest.
Right.
I don't know, but yeah, I find myself spending more time with Jory, and Jory's usually never wrong. I usually I am a little bit harder on the other kids for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the challenges was when we did build this house, I was getting pretty low on the mortgage on the other house. I mean, I bought it when I was single, and I was, it was foreclosed, so it was cheaper. And then you build this house, and then you're way back on square one with a high mortgage. That just need the mortgage rates to come down.
Right.
But the other thought that crosses me, I'm like, did I mortgage my other 3 kids' education because of this? Like when they get to college, like, who know how much that's going to cost nowadays. But like,
Yeah.
the other house and this was an issue, I'm like, yeah, I could see we could have paid for their college. I mean, it'd still be hard, but it'd be a lot more easier. But now that we have this house, which I feel like Jory's going to live in for the rest of his life,
Right.
you know, it's like a double-edged sword. You're helping Jory, but I don't know. I know it will affect the other three in some way.
Yeah.
But I think them being around Jory long term is better for them for being around people who do have disabilities. They know how to act around other kids like Briella,
Mm-hmm.
and like they're not like the kids that just sit and stare when they see a kid in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like that. So that knowledge to them, you can't quantify that. So
yeah, you've got some great kids. I mean, last time we were over there, it's just like they're just so awesome. I love it. I mean, they're wild and crazy like they should be, but it's just like the way they can just sit and interact with anyone it's just awesome.
and that's what we've done. Like, so we want them to be around people, and a lot of times they ask, like, "Oh, who are we having over tonight?"
Yeah, you guys are like you could do a master's class on how to invite people over into your home and have dinner and treat them well. You guys are the best at that.
So the key to that is to marry a spouse who's a social worker and who's very, very, very hospitable. That's the key to that. Because I'm an introvert, and sometimes I'd be like, "No, I don't. I'm good. I just want to stay home."
Right? Yeah, we don't have to do that again.
Yeah. But and I know we've told you about this, but we're getting a painting done. It's just drying. We haven't. So she's painted it all, and it's just drying. But it's a picture of David and Mephibosheth. So back to 2 Samuel 9, and I know you've done a sermon on that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah. So David wants to honor one of Jonathan's sons who's left, and there's Mephibosheth who's crippled in both legs, and he brings them in. And so on the painting we have, and the girl came out to one of the Certain Hope events, took pictures because she wanted to get a lot of disabilities right, and she wanted to draw them appropriately and not just whatever came to her mind.
Yeah.
So she drew Jory, and she's drawn. I the only person I've seen is Jory, so I'm sure Briella might be in there. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it. But it's a modernized version of the story of David and Mephibosheth, because David goes to Mephibosheth. He says, "You'll always have a seat at my table.
Right.
You won't have to worry about anything." He's like, the servant, he's going to take care of you, for forever. Whatever you want, he's going to tend your crops. He's going to do. So also we're going to build a garden, and we're going to make it accessible and stuff. And we're working on that now. So
it's such a cool, story on so many different levels. But like my favorite thing about Mephibosheth is it just like gives you this awesome, because it's all about Jesus. Like that story just points us to Jesus. Jesus says, you will have a seat at my table. Like everyone's welcome if you put your faith and trust in me. And I just love that he, you get David goes after him. The expectation was he was going to kill Mephibosheth.
Yeah.
Because he was, he was in line, and so you would kill him, and that would have been no big deal. But he says no, and then in that day, to do what he did for somebody who was crippled in both legs would have been totally unheard of. I mean, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't go into the Temple Mount. So like in Matthew 21, he heals the blind and the lame who weren't allowed there, and he does it specifically saying, this temple curtain is going to fall, and all those with disabilities are going to have access.
I love it.
It's what the church should be.
It's incredible. I know. It's like, yes, I love this picture that Jesus paints for us. I mean, it's just so great. Yes. And that, as a lot of people haven't heard of it, but I love it, because like when I get to preach that, I'll use it a lot just because of like with Certain Hope Community, and it kind of helps me talk about that and what we do and why we do it. But it also challenges churches.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, what are you doing? let's step it up a notch.
Yep. And churches need to change, and there's some, you got to pull some strings, and I had to do that in my church to try and make stuff more accessible. But yeah, it's not just young kids, it's adults in the age, what is it, like, what percentage of people end up being a disability?
I think it's 1 in 4 now.
1 in 4. Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah,
you need that access. I think churches should be like, we need to focus on this. So, like, someone knows they can go to this church and not worry about where they have to go to the bathroom, can they get around? Do they have to? I was talking to one guy at one church. They had to go all the way outside the building to go back down to like the fellowship hall. So
I know
it's just
my argument is always, if the pastor was in a wheelchair, the church would move. I mean,
real fast.
I mean, everything would change. But yeah. They say now. I was just talking to somebody last night. I said, people with disability they're the largest unchurched people group now in the world. Like it's so. But there's a lot of good churches doing some things, which is encouraging. Yep. And sometimes it's just making an effort, not ignoring it, but making an effort. And the church you're at is making an effort, which is awesome. The church I'm at has made an effort, and it draws people in, like you show a little bit of effort. It says, hey, we care about you. We love you. We want you to be here. We might not do it perfect, but we're going to do our best. Yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And Amber's heading that up at our church now with just any kids with disabilities, from autism to Jory to whatever.
Yeah. That's so great.
We have a one-on-one person with them. So yeah.
Man. All right. I got a question for you. And I like this question because I don't even know if I could answer it. So I'm just going to ask you and expect you to answer it. That's great. So you've been in this journey in the disability world for almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming you guys have, I know you guys have been through so much. A lot of you've seen so much good. You've seen a lot of really hard times. But what are like a couple of things that you've learned about yourself through this journey that I know I told you, man? I tried to warn you.
Yeah.
What are some things you've learned about yourself that have been like, oh, okay, this is good, or maybe there's some things you've had to change, perspectives you've had to change? I'll give you like 1 second to think about it.
Yeah. No, God has definitely softened my heart. So Amber hates when I tell the story, but like when we got married, we were doing counseling, and Amber cares about all the kids in Africa. And I'm like, well, I can't do anything about it. So do I care? I don't know. And she cares about so much. And sometimes I'm like, I'm more practical, and kind of everything is aligned around disability, where we kind of have a common goal, where like I didn't necessarily see that in the past. Like even with my roommate in college, like I saw things, but it didn't quite change me. So like in the dorm, in the dorm we were in, there was a TV in the student center, but that closed down at like 10, and you had to be back in your dorms. And the other TV was on the second floor, and there was no elevator. So like we're trying to watch, I think it was like the Boston Red Sox series in 2004, and Nathan crawls up the stairs to go watch it, because like and I'm like, why didn't we think of, and just hit me like, why I should have made a bigger difference to the higher ups at our university, that like put the TV room downstairs so he can watch it. Like
right. Like, it's not,
or they did an event at the Opera House downtown Cedarville, and there's like 2 flights of stairs to get up there, and like me and you're in college, and like so a bunch of guys we just pick up Nate and carry him up there, and Nate's like nervous, like, are you gonna drop me or something? But like I should have made more a difference about these things in the past. but seeing all this stuff now, it's kind of aligned Amber and I in that common goal of, okay, we know we want to serve those in the disability community. So that was a lot of the reason why we built this house and
Yeah.
the way we did it. The openness in the middle. I'm going to be building an 11-foot table so we can have
Love
tons
it.
of people, and it's flat all the way around the garden. So
Yeah.
it's that's how he's changed me. He's softened me to stuff that I would probably be a little more hard on or more logical about, and not necessarily empathetic about. So yeah, he's definitely changed me in that way for sure.
Yeah, man. All right. Thinking of Jory specifically, what's one of your favorite things that you get to do with him?
So if you lay on the floor, he'll just come up on you and he likes to burrow his head into things. So he will burrow his head in your armpit.
Oh man, that's dangerous.
And he just sticks his head in there. He just stays there for a long time. Like and then he'll like get under your belly and he'll like, fly me up in an airplane. And if I have my feet up on the couch, he's like, make a slide so I can slide down. He likes climbing on you. And I think,
Yeah,
and I've seen you do this in Briella, just getting down with your child at their level.
for sure.
Just don't stand around just sit on the couch. I mean, I do that sometimes and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Just get down on their level and just be with them. So,
yeah. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, Jory's great too because last time we were over there, for those that don't know, I have a couple of teenage boys, and it's awesome how he just like demands their attention, and then like, I think it was Riker. He comes in and grabs something. We're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, Jory wanted me to grab this." I was like, "Yes."
He's like,
Get him, Jory.
He's like, you go do this. We're like, okay.
It's so great.
Jory, say please.
Yeah. So, okay, last question for you. Talk to me about marriage.
Yeah.
How have you guys changed through the years? I mean, you have 4 kids, so
yeah.
that'll bring out what you guys, all the stuff you got going on. But how have you guys kept your marriage healthy with having a child with disabilities? I think there's a lot of dads that like to hear this answer from other dads.
And that's probably one of the harder things. It is difficult, especially with Kathy and Jory. It's hard to do a date night because there's not many people that can Kath and Jory at all. So, and we've had some people reach out, and it's also hard because we're both kind of people who are like, we don't really want to bother someone or inconvenience them to come, hey, Kath, Jory, so we can go out. So, I mean, yeah, it is a struggle at times. It's something I do need to do better. Try and get those date nights out. I'm more of a gift giving person.
Oh, so, really?
I mean, just like building the house is like how I show love, or building.
It's a good gift. Oh my gosh!
And I know Amber just wants. Yeah, she'd rather just go out. And anyway, we definitely need to be doing that more. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, it has been a struggle. But like just uniting around the kids and Jory, and just our faith and church and everything. It's just we're aligned on so many things that it's healthy in that regard.
Yeah, that's great.
I
would definitely agree with that.
Actually, just need to get out and away from the kids more. But yeah.
No, it's always encouraging. Laura and my wife Laura and Amber, I think they both share that passion of just wanting people in their home, opening up the doors, letting people come in. Let's have dinner together. And you guys do such a good job of modeling, like, everyone can have a seat at our table. You don't have your 11-foot table right now, but you have a big enough table. I mean, it's encouraging. We left your house last time and we're like, man, that's what we want to do. We want to have people over like they do and just be so caring and loving towards people. It's awesome. So thanks for being a good example of that.
You invite people over to our house.
Be careful what you wish for.
I don't care.
It.
Yeah,
man, it's so tempting. Well, Ben, hey, I appreciate you being on Disabled Expectations. I know you're a busy guy. We actually, this is kind of funny. We're both picking up our daughters from church late tonight, so this worked out perfect for us.
Yeah, we'll see if they hold the code.
Right. But thanks for being on the show. I know a lot of dads are going to be encouraged, and honestly, a lot of people will be encouraged by your story. There's so much more to your story, but thanks for sharing what you did, and I love hearing how God has worked in and through your life and your marriage. It's great. So thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.